10 and 11 are the combination of talking to God and receiving instruction from God. By 2, we're introduced to power, peace, happiness, a sense of direction. In 3, we're empowered through prayer, to look inward instead of outward for our ease and comfort. As humans, we've spent our whole life looking outward for our ease and comfort from our earliest days. We cry, we get fed, those types of things. So now as adult beings, our job is to awaken to that internal life force. So when we get all the way to 10 and 11, now all those practices I'm becoming disciplined in. I'm supposed to be walking all day, inventorying my thoughts, taking captive those thoughts and submitting them to the Christ within me. And then my behavior is then changed. I'm no longer walking in my own sense of direction, but in the new sense of direction that's flowed into me. And I'm now improving my consciousness, my awareness of being aware. So in simplest terms, 10 and 11 is about the instruction on how to begin and maintain my conscious walk with God. We're cleaning up as we go along, which is what the 12 step is about. If I want to make purpose of all the terrible things that I've gone through and caused others to go through, then I've got to bear witness to the power that redeemed me from that and the one that's now sent me to them to redeem them from that. So I've got to convert those experiences. That's my obligation. And the all-inclusiveness of the steps starts to be evident. But if you really look at, when we get ready to read how it works, the first chapters the first portions of chapter 5 that we read at every Alcoholics Anonymous meeting forever, as long as I've known, is really just the wrap-up of 1 and 2. So they're teaching you about the all-inclusive nature of the steps right from the beginning. But to your point, by the time you're at 10 and 11, you can see the all-inclusive nature. 10 and 11 aren't separate disciplines. It's just, think of yourself as a parent with a little child, and the little child's just sitting on the floor crying, whining, and eventually as a parent you say, "What do you want?" That's what the Father God's saying to you. You've been praying for years. What do you want? Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and the door will open. But if I don't walk in certainty of that, I'll never even ask the right question, will I? And I'll keep getting what I'm getting because I'm not specifying what it was I thought I was missing. Well, I think that was something that someone in human tradition said to do that may or may not be effective. I mean, we want people to be connected to the extent they want to be, but I want them to be connected not because it's a rule, but because they genuinely are concerned about my well-being and starting to think of a world bigger than themselves, right? And I learned this lesson. When I first came up, I came up through a homeless shelter. And so everyone I knew similarly came up through a homeless shelter because that's who you have. And so now I'm no longer in the homeless shelter and I'm in some kind of residence. I don't know at that point what. But I get a guy, and I had been taught through human indoctrination, you call me every day. So I told this guy to call me every day. And he said, "I don't have any money, and all we got is pay phones." Back then, they had pay phones. So I gave him a $10 roll of coins, quarters. Says, "Call me every day. Now you don't have any excuses." Still no call. So I went to him and said, "Well, you might as well give me those quarters back since you didn't call." He says, "I went and got a hamburger." So I called my sponsor because I was very upset that I would be disrespected in such a way. And he looked at me and he says, "You damn fool. That man didn't have enough money to feed himself and you gave him some money and you thought he was going to call you?" And it humbled me to the point that I realized those human traditions are silly. What I tell people is, if you care how I'm doing, call and ask how I'm doing. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. And if you don't, then do you. Yes. I think it's useful to do more than a daily reflection. The whole idea of 10 and 11 is to reflect constantly on what you're being shown and what you're heading to do. Because there is one who's not only where I am, but where I'm going. Well, the authors are pretty clear about it, right? It depends on what you're going through in your struggle, what level of consciousness you're at. In ninth step instruction, it tells us to think about your family members and then ask every day in your morning meditation to be shown the way of patience, kindness, tolerance, love. By 10th step, it's, direct my thinking, especially to be divorced of self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. So I'm starting to reflect on not only my intention, but my intention and my outcome, my expectations to my outcome, and start to see if things are coming more in line. Because quite frankly, there's a source within me that knows the outcome before it happens. That's what walking in faith is.